Welcome back to the Concord Connection. I'm Mike Dyer with CCTV. Here today at Thoreauly Antiques, joined by owner Sarah Matias. Sarah, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for being here today.
All right, so obviously we can see a lot of the antiques in the background, but let's start off with a little bit of your history and the history of the store. I understand you are a new owner here.
Yes, as of June 1st, I took over ownership, but I've been part of this shop for 6 years. The shop's been here for 12, but I've been here for 6 as a dealer. And dealer meaning we each have a space that we rent, we take care of, maintain, and also share work time at the shop.
So talk a little bit about the dealing process and what specifically, as a dealer here, made you interested in purchasing the store.
Well, I started way back in '97. I opened my own shop, Maynard Thrift Shop, and that's how I started getting into antiques and collecting. I actually have an art background, and so I collected off the side of the road to make sculpture. And I had a wide collection and started getting interested in the history of things and seeing the saving history instead of destroying it. So after having my own store for several years, I took a hiatus and realized I can't stop collecting. And I continue to go to antique shops and shows and flea markets and yard sales and buy things. So I got a small space here, and it went from there. I loved it. It was going great. I still sell online on eBay. That's what I never stopped doing, but I wanted to be with people again. And when you're at home doing eBay, it's not quite the same thing as being in a shop and learning what people are looking for and being part of the whole environment and meeting other dealers. The opportunity came about for me to take over, and because I've already had the experience of having my own shop and knowing how to do the business aspect of it, I said this would be great. And the owner is still part of the shop. She still has a space here, and which has been great too, because she has been able to guide me on how to, the book side of it, because there's a lot of other things besides just putting nice things on the shelves and selling it, and how to, have now there's 20 of us and dealing with 20 dealers and the work schedules. And
Sure, so talk about the biggest difference between being a dealer and owning the shop.
It's a lot more work.
Yeah.
I'm here a lot more. I used to only work 1 day a month because it was based on the size of your space. The smaller your space, the less you work. Now, we did a lot of work. When I took over, we painted. The walls we'll see another space, but it was a different color. So I decided I wanted everything white. And all the dealers helped. We came here at night and took stuff off the walls, and it was a huge project. And then we had a huge event for Henry David Thoreau's 200th birthday. This year was a big deal. And so we had an impersonator who plays Henry David Thoreau. And it was an amazing event. Tons of people were here. So that was a lot when taking over, because that was within the first month. So there was a lot to plan for the party, and just getting things into shape and making more specific spaces. And we added some new dealers. So it has been a lot more work, but it's been fun. I like, using the ideas I've had already, wanting to now I can actually see them come into fruition and say, okay, this is this vision that I had.
Sure, and talk about a little bit about your team here and what makes the team here special, and the kind of environment that people are going to see when they walk in the door.
All the dealers some of them have been here 12 years, and before that have been doing it for years. So they have tons of experience, and a lot of them have specialties, some in jewelry, some in Victorian smalls, ephemera, and because of the variety, people love to come in here and see so many different things. And at first they think it's the person working is the owner of everything, and they said, wow, what an eclectic collection, how did you even do this? And we're like, well, because there's 20 of us, and so that makes it unique. And everybody has their heart in it and wants to support the store. And because it's a co-op, we all feel like an ownership in it and working together.
So 20 dealers. What is it for you when someone walks in the door and they want to work with you that says, you know what, I really want to have them be a part of the store?
Okay. We just recently, when I took over, have a couple of dealers downsize a little bit. So we got 2 new dealers. And I thought, oh, is this going to take a while to find someone? Within a week, just word of mouth, I hadn't even said anything. People were emailing me and texting me and calling me. I want to be in there. I want to be in there. I've always wanted to be in there. So then it was based on experience, and these 2 dealers actually have been part of other shops. They have been doing it for a long time. They have very interesting things. We like to have a variety, so we are not trying to double up on what someone else is already doing.
And we're going to go around. We're going to check out some of the dealers. But first, I want to talk a little bit about hours. I understand this is a fairly small business, but you guys have really expansive hours. Talk a little bit about when you're open and when people can find you.
Okay, so we are open every single day. And we're just 3 holidays. It's Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving.
362 days a year.
Yes, yep. And I know it is pretty impressive. And then we are here 10 to 5:30 during the week. Saturdays 10 to 5 and Sundays noon to 5. But often you'll find us here off hours. We'll be open later on the weekends. We may open earlier because people are around and you get tons of tourists in town, and they're looking for a place to get a little piece of history and just to browse.
Right, a lot of tourists looking for, things like antiques that they can kind of take home with them.
And they want, right. And so our most popular thing is something that can fit in a suitcase that's usually under $20. I mean, we sell all sorts of things, but for tourists, that's what they're looking for. They want something that they can take home, that they can wrap, put it in, because they're flying usually. And so we sell a lot of smalls.
And we'll go through some of those, but talk a little bit about when someone comes up to you or talks to you online about something that you may not have. I understand you still really try to help them, point them in the right direction.
Absolutely, because usually they need it then. They don't need it for later. I mean, sometimes people are just collecting ongoing, like certain kind of figurines, but when they're looking for something, it might be a prop for a play. We get a lot of movie directors who come in and buy for, like the movie that just was filmed here. What was that movie? Daddy's Home 2.
Right, Mark Wahlberg.
Yes, so
Will
they
Ferrell.
were here for several weeks, and they bought lots of stuff for the set here.
That's really interesting. Can you talk a little, what did they buy?
They had a scene that was going to be a cabin, so they bought, I know, an old suitcase, a lot of Americana. For that scene, and who knows if we'll see it or not, but we get that a lot. And so as far as going back to your question, if somebody comes in and is looking for something specific and we don't have it, there are 2 other shops that we send. Actually, there's 3 shops there's one, it seems like it's above us, but the door is next door, and it's upstairs but over Walden Street Antiques, then Northbridge across the street, and then Nesting down the street. So we'll say, why don't you try one of those shops? And sometimes they'll be able to find it. And we also have a wish list that will write things down. And a lot of our dealers have a lot more inventory at home.
And that's the customer service you don't find everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, you just mentioned, if I own a pizza shop and there's 4 pizza shops in a span of a block, that might not be what I consider good for business, but I understand the relationships that you have with the other antique shops.
Yes.
You actually feel like it helps draw more people into the area.
Absolutely. Especially if you're interested in antiques, you're going to want to go to an area that has them. Like New Hampshire, there's a whole area of antique shops in Vermont and Maine. And that's purposeful because people aren't going to have the same stuff. You never can have the same stuff. And that's why it's always exciting coming in here. It's always changing. And it becomes a destination. And then we send them to the cheese shop to go get a sandwich, or the Colonial Inn to sit out on the porch and have some lemonade. I mean, we want to keep the customers in Concord.
Driving local business, which is also a big goal of us with the Concord Connection, is to really get people to come up and shop locally and support local businesses. Not just because for the sake of it, because there's a lot of great products out here, and it's great to see you guys kind of working together for that. And I understand you can come in here. We're at 25 Walden Street. But what about if someone wants to buy something online? Online business obviously is gigantic in 2017. Talk about a little bit about your web presence.
Okay, well, we have a thoroughlyAntiques.com, but we don't have anything that you can actually purchase online there. And then we have a Facebook presence, which is where we're most active. And you'll often see pictures of new inventory, and people have said, okay, I see this painting that you have of Walden Pond. I really want it. Hold it for me. And then we will, and then they'll come in and purchase it. So it's not something where, we usually sell it to someone who's not local and then we mail it to. But we have done that, and we will do that. But generally, it's for customers that do come visit the shop. So,
but it's a great way to be able to say, hey, do you have this?
Yes, that too. Yep. Yeah, because we have somebody who works with Facebook almost on a daily basis, so that there's always a reply if somebody's trying to contact us that we're there.
That's awesome. And now that I think we've talked about the business a little bit, what do you say we go take a trip around the store, see some of your favorite stuff, and let the people at home really check out what Thoroughly Antiques has to offer.
That sounds great.
Let's do it. So I understand, Sarah, we're in the dorm, a little different than the dorms I went to school at, but
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about where we're at right now.
Okay, so this is the previous owner, the one that created this wonderful place, Joyce Ricker Space, and she specializes in university, college, and prep school memorabilia. So let's say, okay, Washington and Lee Wedgwood plate, and this is probably, I would say maybe the 1950s, but you can't get this anymore. People come in for graduation presents, even wedding presents. I mean, sometimes they've met at a school, or people who went to that school and they want a piece of history and something that it might be a picture of the dorm they lived in while they were there. All sorts of memorabilia. It's not just the plates. We have shirts, we have cufflinks and spoons, endless things. And she has one of the largest collections around. So this is the place to go if you're looking for something like that.
This type of collection must have taken her forever to kind of accumulate.
Yes.
And there's such a uniqueness to it. Like you said, things that haven't been made in probably decades that she's able to offer.
Yes, yep, and I think she has been creating quite a collection over the years. I mean, there's always a turnover as well. I mean, especially the schools around here, you know, Harvard. She has a large collection of Harvard University, and that sells a lot because often you're going to have alum that live in the area, and it's the perfect gift. You know, it might be a housewarming gift even. A turkey platter.
And now she's still in here regularly, the former owner?
Yep.
And
Yep.
describe your relationship with her. That's pretty unique.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, it really has helped the transition because I actually watched the shop while she was away for 3 months to get a feel, to understand the ins and the outs, what is required of me, what I need to do. So it's been wonderful.
All right, so we're leaving the dorm now.
Yes.
Where are we headed next?
We're going to go look at the estate jewelry.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so this is our estate jewelry area. This is Sandy's space, and she used to work in downtown Boston, actually, for a gemologist, a jeweler. So she knows the ins and outs of pretty much everything. And she's our go-to whenever we get something. We want to find out, is this real? What's this worth? When is it made? So this case right here is the high-end jewelry. So you actually we've had many people who have come in and gotten engagement rings here. So there are diamonds, there's gold, there's jade, there's everything, and it's almost all antique. And then this case here, we have more of the sterling silver, some costume, things that are in more mid-price range. And then we have a men's case, which is often hard to find at antique shops, is things for the man. So we'll have watches and cufflinks, a variety of things.
Some things never go out of style.
That's correct. And then we also have a lot of costume up here. So if it's not in the case, it tends to be priced lower. That's just one dealer that has jewelry. She specializes in it, but several of the other dealers here have jewelry. So you can, a lot of times we'll have a young woman coming in for the prom looking for something, and like a rhinestone from the 1950s. So this is the place to come and get that.
It absolutely is. And you guys run the gamut. You have a little bit of everything all the way up to engagement rings. This is a really unique spot to buy an engagement ring.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, there are often times that people want something, they don't have something that's handed down, and they want that antique look, the antique setting, and it still has some kind of unique energy and history to it, because you usually don't know where it came from, but you know that somebody else wore it, and it could have been in the 1800s, which is, I think, a very unique thing to have. But a lot of times it's just the style, and it's a style that you can't get anymore. And it's also more affordable than going into a department store, jewelry store, and paying full price, because you're still going to be paying less.
Right, you get something that nobody else really has, and you get it for a better price.
Very unique,
It's hard to beat that.
Yes.
All right, this is great. Now, what's another collection that you really want to show off?
Okay, I'm going to show you now. We have some vintage clothing in the store, which we didn't before.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, Sarah, I understand now we're in your section.
Yes, this is one of my new sections, and I have always collected vintage clothing and had this rack from a previous shop, and it was dying to get some clothes back in here. So this is our vintage clothing section. We also have it mixed in with some designer clothing, but like as an example, We just got this in. This is a vintage 1950s from Hawaii, and it looks like it probably was never worn, which is often the case of women in clothing. But you will get this, and well, not you personally,
no,
but
probably not.
I don't think anyone else will be wearing this. That's what's great about vintage. It's very unique. We also do some children's as well. We have some sweet little, this is probably from the 1960s, and then down to some very antique items where this is all silk and, I mean, just beautiful work done on it. But you probably would use this for display. A lot of times people actually have mannequins at home or old dress forms, and they want to dress them and to period clothing.
So now talk about the process with this stuff. When you see something.
Yeah.
Vintage clothing, what catches your eye and makes you say, you know what, I really want to have that?
Right. First of all, it's very hard to find. And so sometimes it's really almost anything but color. Like, for example, this. I mean, you can see there's a lot of color here. Like this is a vintage kimono, and I mean it's beautiful, and even the labels are just so unique. There's a Squirrel brand. I mean, what does that have to do with kimono? I have no idea, but so I am looking for color. I'm looking at the labels to see if they're vintage, because now vintage is very in, and so they're remaking a lot of the vintage stuff. So you want to know
vintage though.
Correct. So you want to know that it's vintage. So the label is a giveaway to know, and because the sizing was very different then. So a size 14 then is really like a size 6 or 8 today. Things that are in good condition because the fabric breaks down over time. So that's something you want to make sure. And then I steam everything before it comes in here, press it, make it beautiful, and ready to go.
So you're finding these pieces where?
Everywhere.
It never turns up. It just doesn't matter where you are. You always have your
there's a place in Boston that I go to. I mean, I have my secret places.
Oh, of course. Don't give away all the secrets.
Yeah. But there are many places that I go. But that's probably the hardest search is for vintage clothing. I have the hardest time finding it. But I've been collecting it for a long time, so I've always got more coming in.
And that's something that wasn't really happening here before you got here?
No, there were things here and there. Yeah, this is new to Thoroughly.
Very cool. And something else that's very cool that caught my eye as we kind of head out of the vintage clothing section. I see a bunch of Scrabble pieces.
Yes.
What's going on over here?
I know, this is funny. Like, why would you want to buy a bag of Scrabble pieces? But we actually have a lot of artists that come in here. And these pieces, they make pendants out of. They take a little piece of paper, glue it on, put a bezel on the back, and make a pendant. Then some people are actually looking for Scrabble pieces from their last game. But I can actually show you in another booth some examples of what we sell on a regular basis to the artists.
Awesome. Let's head over.
Okay, great.
So I understand we're heading over. This is the antique parts.
Yes.
Coming from the Scrabble pieces. You said a lot of artists like to use those in different pieces. And there's a lot of other stuff here.
Yes. I mean, it's pretty amazing what this is Carrie. For an example, these are all little watch faces, but these are antique watch faces, not just any watch face. Sometimes they're pretty high-end watch faces as well, but they're all $2. So dealers will come in, or artists, and they buy these to make jewelry from. They repurpose them. These are the innards. Some of these are actually little working watches. Then we have actual hands from clocks. And this is keys. Everybody wants an old key. It might seem surprising. Put it on a necklace, or this dealer will let you take a whole tray of keys home because you have that desk, that secretary that you can't unlock because that key was never handed down to you. And these are pretty universal, so you just have to get the right hole size, and there you go, you've got another key, and then they bring them back the next day. Then buttons. Buttons are huge purchase here, and you can either go through a whole basket of buttons for 50 cents and find that button you're missing, or sew it on a purse. A lot of people use them for fabric. And then there are some beautiful, like, these are special silk embroidered buttons. It goes on, and there's always something else here because we have somebody who will come in on a monthly basis and stock up, and some of these people actually have their own shops, and our prices are low enough that people can easily resell the stuff as well.
This is the section for people who are way more crafty than me, for people who might have seen something on a Pinterest board and they need a key, they need a watch, you know, this is the kind of stuff. And it's not like you're going to go out and buy an antique watch just for the face, or find one of these keys out there. So it's a very unique, it's a niche, but it's something that if you need it, you need it. And this is a really cool spot to find it.
I mean, recently we had somebody planning a wedding. And they wanted for every table a bottle with a shell in it, and then they were going to tie a key around it. And so this is the place where somebody else had shells that they were able to get, I think, 100 of them. And then someone else had the bottles. So it's really, you know, for decorative purposes, it's great. We get a lot of interior decorators as well. And I think this is one of the only shops around that I've seen that you can actually get parts. You know, it's not a complete, but it's parts.
Right, and parts, it saves you money to be able to buy the specific part and in a spot. Again, not many people have this.
Yes.
I also see some old pictures.
Yes, yes.
Talk a little bit about some of these old family photos and old pictures right here.
This is really great. We get a collection of old photos, and then this dealer will make them nice and beautiful in their own backing and little plastic clear cover.
Where do you find something like that?
From estates where the family is no longer wanting, I mean, here's the entire family with this lovely border around it. And we have people who are really into cameras, really into old photography, and they want the history. So they'll take an old photo and they actually try to find out who it was. Usually they'll do something, a lot of these old photos will have the name of the studio on the back of where it was taken. So they'll start with like Providence, Rhode Island, and then they go from there. And there might be something like if it was a soldier, and then we do a lot of old postcards. I mean, we have, you know, postcards that can be like holiday, Christmas postcards, for you name it, we have it.
Something like that, it could just fit the theme of the room, and it could be the little piece they're looking for.
Yes, exactly. And people will buy these things and they'll frame them and use them in their children's bedroom. It's we're saving a piece of history, because usually when you just find a part of a game, well, it gets tossed, but we preserve it.
So I understand you also have some books that have a special connection to Concord history specifically. So we're going to go talk to Elaine about that?
Yes.
Let's head over there.
Okay, great. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Sarah.
Elaine, so first off, now here with Elaine Pushak, who has been here for 12 years since this was first made into an antique store.
Correct.
And I understand one thing that you have over here is a few books that really focus in on Concord history and are kind of local draws.
Yes.
Want to talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, sure. Now, this book is by Thoreau. It's a very nice old edition. Actually, it's 1887.
Wow.
This is a cool book. But here's another Thoreau book, Walden, which is not quite as old, but it's beautifully well bound and everything like that.
Very cool. You do not find these many places.
Right.
Is that right?
Correct.
And so with a book like this, where do you guys find these books, and what makes you say, you know what, I think that book would be something that people really want to see?
Yeah. Well, we travel a distance, really, to find them. Sometimes people do come in with something to sell, but mostly not. Wherever we go, we look.
Absolutely.
We sell.
I also understand, and Sarah, you can talk a little bit about this, Elaine is kind of the expert when it comes to silverware, which is something you guys move quite a bit of.
Yes, she does a great job with flatware, and people come in for the holidays. They're serving 12 people for Thanksgiving, and they want silver plate set at the table and serving pieces.
Yes.
So Elaine is continually purchasing complete sets, and so you can actually get a complete matching set, or you can decide, well, I just need these chowder spoons, and here you go. Here's 8 chowder spoons.
Yes.
And they're also priced even lower than you would pay for not just stainless that you would buy at your local store. So you're getting heirloom, something beautiful. A lot of people buy them for their children when they're getting a new apartment.
So is it true that China is a little bit out right now, but the silver is in?
Yeah, absolutely. At least it is in Concord. That we seem to do really well with it. And Elaine has a great eye for it, and she polishes it all up so it's ready to go. You don't have to do anything.
That's true.
When you see something like this, when do you make the decision, you know, I think that's something we should have here, and what's kind of the process like of getting it ready and polishing it?
Well, let me tell you this part too. You know, sometimes people want whole sets or close to whole sets, and I'm missing something, and so I go searching for it and searching, and sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So you know, I'm really trying to make the customer happy, and usually I do come up with it.
Right, and people come in here and you're able to get them something that they can't get on their own. There has to also be a good feeling,
Yes.
As well as being, you know, something that helps the store.
Correct. Yes.
So Elaine, I understand you and Sarah go way back. Talk a little bit about your history and how you guys have come together here.
Well, I knew Sarah before she came into the shop. I knew she wanted to come in here. Actually, I told Sarah when would be a good time to come in and approach the previous owner and things like that. And I'm so glad things worked out because, as you can see, Sarah's doing a wonderful, wonderful job.
And Sarah, what's it been like to be able to come in here and have someone like Elaine who's been here for 12 years and knows just about everything there is to know about the shop?
It's been great. She's one of my right-hand women. She's been, I mean, we knew each other from the days of the Maynard Thrift Shop in the
Yes.
the late 90s, and she has helped tremendously. She knows all the dealers really well. I go to her sometimes for advice.
Yeah, Sarah's got a good head on her shoulders, and she knows how to handle a lot of good things.
All right, Elaine, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing some of these pieces with us. And Sarah, I understand we have one more stop on our journey. Going to go check out some Victorian era antiques.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right, so now we're in the Victorian era section.
Yes.
What are a few of your favorite pieces?
Okay,
from
well, this
section?
is Bonnie's area, and she unearths the most amazing artifacts from the 1800s. And I just started looking, because it's always changing, but I thought, well, how cute is this? A little box with all these antique books. And look at this. This is Milton Paradise Lost from the 1800s. I mean, it's just such a unique little treasure.
And it's in great condition for
Yes,
something that's
and
120 years old.
Exactly, and that's what's so amazing about it. She is able to get some amazing smalls. So some of them are little dioramas. There are mourning pins, which will have laced together hair from someone who's passed on. It will be on the back of the pin. In the front might be a picture of them. Really unique pieces, and there are people who collect that kind of stuff. There are hand-painted brooches, and this miniature painting is again 1800s of a whale scene. So it's things that you will really never see anywhere.
No, you don't see this stuff
yeah,
anywhere.
it's almost like going into a museum here.
Absolutely, and you kind of, as you walk around, you guys have a little bit of everything.
Yes,
and
we
that
do.
seems to be what makes you so unique.
Yes.
And is that something, it seems like that you're proud of? That
Yeah.
you can offer all these different
Yeah,
things.
we really have a huge array and the variety with the 19 dealers, and each one having their own niche. We want people to have a feel, a touch, and to be more intimate with the object, and to be able to afford it and bring it home and give it as a gift to someone they love, or because it was something that their great-grandmother had and they saw and it got lost, and where was it? And it brings them back to that time period.
And it allows, whether you're a hardcore collector or just someone looking for that missing piece for
Yes.
a project, it seems like you can serve just about anybody
Yes,
who has a
absolutely.
need for those antiques.
Absolutely, yes, yep. So people come back over and over again, and we get a lot of people from out of town, and we're one of their first stops next time they come and visit town.
And since we've been in here, there's been dozens of customers. So
Yes.
I can't stress enough, get in here while some of this stuff is still here.
Right.
Although it seems like you guys are always replacing
Yes.
with
there's
new
always
things
new
anyways.
stuff. You come in every day, you're guaranteed you're going to find something new.
And
that
that's-
wasn't there the day before.
That's very exciting. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah Matthias,
you.
owner of Thoreauly Antiques here on the Concord Connection, one of my favorites, and hope everyone at home gets a chance to come in here and check out the unique flair you guys bring to an antique shop.
Yes.
This is Mike Dyer, CCTV. Thanks so much.